Let's move over to our next matchup now, where we got Arnold Allen coming in this featherweight matchup, coming in at plus 215, going up against Gene Silva, who comes in at minus 255. I'll start off on the Allen side of things now, who has a spectacular 20-3 record. Unfortunately, had his UFC winning streak, which he started off 10-0, had it halted by Max Holloway. Can't really blame him for that. Very tough matchup for him. Then he runs into Movsar Evloev, who was able to outgrapple him, do what he did. And then Allen got back into the win column against Giga Chikadze, but that fight was back at UFC 304. So it's been, 1.5, close to 2 years since we've seen Allen in action. He's been suffering from a nasty shoulder injury, I believe, and rehab to try to get back into shape. But he's looking to build upon that momentum that he had or was able to build off of Giga Chikadze. Now, he's a guy that I've often had issues with in terms of his work rate. He's a little bit too gun shy at times. He waits a little bit too much. But when he does go, he definitely makes it count. He throws with a lot of big power. He's very explosive, has some good power in his shots, good defensive grappling. So guys, unless their moves are Evloev, they're not really able to out-grapple him. But if you can stay active enough, you can usually catch him on the back foot and keep working and outpoint him. Giga Chikadze seemed to be doing that in the first round before Allen really started to bite down on the mouthpiece, start to move forward, put the pressure on Chikadze, and Chikadze started to slow down, and we saw Allen win the next 2 rounds to win that fight on the scorecards. But he is a guy that has had some issues in terms of activity. The wins over Dan Hooker, that was a very depleted Dan Hooker, if you guys remember, trying to cut back down to 145 pounds. He got bum rushed immediately and got knocked out. The Calvin Kattar win for Arnold Allen. If you guys remember, that was where Kattar injured his leg after throwing a flying knee, hence why Allen won by knockout. But we don't often see him win by knockout. He's very conservative. He does land big shots, but he's not persistent in terms of putting guys away as of late. Again, good defensive grappling, can offensively grapple if he needs to, but he's really more so about that disciplined and tactical striking approach, which could really catch him in the on the defensive sometimes if his opponent is a little bit busier than what he normally brings. And he's going to be facing a very active guy here in Gene Silva, who's looking to bounce back after that unfortunate knockout loss in September to Diego Lopez. Now, that was a barn burner of a fight, but I do quickly want to gloss over the earlier part of Gene Silva's UFC career. This guy made a name for himself almost instantly, walking through Weston Wilson, then going to Charles Jourdain and having major success there, getting that knockout win, and just asserting himself as one of the more scarier guys in the featherweight division. He has such confidence in his game that he has almost a reckless abandon to his style, which ended up biting him in the Diego Lopez fight. But this guy walks his opponents down, taunts them, throws big shots, maybe gets a little bit too friendly with them at times too. But when he really has his head on right and wants to, get his opponents out of there, this guy throws major shots, heavy shots. We've seen him go deeper into fights and still have some good power as well. And I think that's what's scariest about him. Fighting with as much energy and explosivity as he normally does, you expect him to slow down. But he's been doing a pretty good job in terms of staying active and really just getting his opponents out of there. The Bryce Mitchell one was absolutely impressive as well. A lot of people had thought that Mitchell would be able to subdue him, get him to the ground and grind him out that way. But he stopped the takedowns. He worked right back to his feet. He was very explosive, very hard to hold down. Even against Diego Lopez. In the first round of that fight, he found himself in some very bad positions against a very dangerous submission specialist, but he was able to work out of those positions and then get back to landing those big shots. Unfortunately for him, Diego Lopez has an ironclad chin that nobody has been able to crack. And unfortunately for Gene Silva, he found that out the hard way as well. Got clipped with a nasty spinning back elbow, I believe it was, and that ultimately led to the finish there. But Silva's still a guy that I believe is going to be in the top 5 to 7 of the featherweight division just because of his sheer tenacity and ferocity with which he fights. He's going to be able to break guys. He's going to be able to walk them down, land big shots. He's going to stay active enough, keep these guys on the defensive. And he's very quick with his power too, which makes him so hard to deal with. Defensive grappling, again, very explosive, very good submission defense, doesn't give up too many bad positions, and often gets back to a dominant position very quickly, which is often in the striking zone for him. Now here against Arnold Allen, this is a fun fight. Allen, again, a little bit low output at times, but Gene Silva is definitely going to bring it out of him. Unfortunately for Allen, though, I think that the constant looking for that big shot is going to cost him here. He might be able to land that big shot and get Silva out of there. But, and I think at plus 215, that probably makes him a live dog because we know he has, mediocre power at best. We have to consider whether Gene Silva has had enough rest. That knockout loss that he had at Diego Lopez or against Diego Lopez was in September. And now here we are roughly about 3 months later. He's trying to fight again against a guy that's going to be looking to take his head off. So that's something to take into consideration here. But in terms of pure prediction, I think Gene Silva is aside. His ability to stay active, command the pace of the fight is not going to be a good look for Arnold Allen. But I think no matter who ends up winning, I think it comes by knockout. I think one of these guys will land that big shot to put the other away. I think it's going to be Gene, but I'm not willing to bet that at minus 255. The line that caught my eye, though, was the under 2.5, which was roughly around plus money. I think like plus 115, plus 120. That might be gone by the time you guys see this recording, but I think that would be the way to go in this matchup. Again, Allen's inactivity at times makes that a little bit sketchy, but when you have a guy as violent and moves forward as much as Gene Silva, I feel like he would be the side here to actually get the win and produce a knockout, whether he's the one getting knocked out or Allen is the one that gets the knockout. I think it's going to be Silva. The under 2.5 is what I like the most, but I'm going to go Gene Silva here by knockout.